This entire series has been on all the voices, and this is the last one in the series, and it's called Silence. How to distinguish which voice to hear and listen and believe is what we've talked about, and we've established that Jesus is who he said he is, and believing in him is simple, and it's the way to go. But to end this series, what if we're not hearing him speak at all? What if we've gone to the shepherd and asked to hear his voice for direction and wisdom, healing and provision, and we hear nothing? Many have wandered away from the sheep pen over days or months or even years of what they call silence, when they've petitioned God and heard nothing at all. For this last Devo, we're going to exit John 10 and go to Psalm 23. I bet it's a chapter you can quote with no problem. But I think the answer to the silent voice of God is found in 3 verses that say, "He makes me lie down in green pastures, he leads me beside still waters, and he restores my soul." Those 3 statements speak volumes when we hear nothing when we're praying. First of all, let's look at the green pastures. These words seem to indicate that the grass is fresh and alive, not brown and crunchy like during a drought. I read that after grazing, sheep will lie down and chew the cud for a while. Could it be that he makes us lie down and chew on the truth that we already know for a while before he speaks again? Let me explain. If we're petitioning and crying out for a while and on what we know, for example, about the healer, that he loves us, he cares for us, he's good, and all the characteristics we know about him, sometimes chewing on that truth is better than demanding a new truth so that we can understand and have what we want. So God's silence may come in the form of making us lie down and rest in his word that's always alive, but we've missed it because we've been grazing elsewhere. Secondly, those still waters. In Hebrew, still waters means refreshing, restful waters. Did you know if sheep try to drink from rushing water, they will often fall in and be swept downstream because their fur is heavy and it absorbs the water? Still waters represent peace, and sometimes we don't need more words from the Father, but rather rest and refreshment in the peace of knowing the Father. This could be those times of silence when he's leading us to places of peace that have nothing to do with circumstances, but everything to do with relationship. We aren't refreshed when water's just pouring into our mouth to the point of drowning, but we are refreshed when we sit still on a hot summer day and sip a tall glass of lemonade under a shade tree. His silence may be a nod to come and drink from a place of safety in the stillness of the night. And finally, a restored soul. Does restoration happen when God's speaking loudly and clearly? Restoration usually means something needs to be put back together that was broken. And we often think God needs to answer our prayers loudly and speak in volume so that we know which way to go in order to live and thrive again. Restoration often means putting things back in their rightful place, a reestablishing of what shifted, laying again foundations that have crumbled. So when God is silent and giving answers we want to hear, he might be silently laying the groundwork of what's crumbled beneath us. If family, friends, and jobs and health have failed us, and we feel brokenhearted and confused and unable to pull ourselves out of the rubble, there's a verse in the Bible that says, if we wait upon the Lord, our strength will be renewed and we'll mount up with wings like an eagle. The silent voice of God might be the loudest of all if we come aside and rest, drink, and allow restoration to take place while we do nothing and hear nothing. Restored furniture and homes make people marvel at what was then and what's now to behold. Restoration of joy after a time of sorrow is a miracle like no other. Restored health and healed wounds creates laughter and leaping. And restoration of growth after a hard winter happens in silence when roots run deep and spring rains fall and the sun shines bright. Don't listen to all the voices, but only to the one voice of Jesus, the Good Shepherd, above all the noise. And when you can't hear exactly what he's saying, but your heart is aching and crying out, lie down and drink and be restored in the silent voice of God that speaks volumes in his provision around you day and night as he leads and you follow the voice that offers life and life forever with him.